Hey guys, Steven here. Fanatic Perspective. Chat's here, chat's live. Texas goes down to Washington in the Sugar Bowl 37-31. I am reacting after we just finished up our Bleacher Report show. I want to say thank you to Bleacher Report for the opportunity to do the post game Sugar Bowl show for Texas. So if you have the Bleacher Report app, you go over there to Texas community. Got a bunch of content over there post game, just asking questions, polls, things of that sort. But we just did a post game show over there for that community, people that are not as familiar with Fanatic Perspective. So just to have that platform and to speak over there, very grateful for it, especially with the growth of Texas and the season they had yielded helped yield those opportunities. The fact that you guys have helped propel me and support this channel, and every time you hit that like button, every time you watch me, every time you guys sub up, it helps. So to get those opportunities is really, really cool. With that being said, tonight sucks. Season's over. Um, we'll talk about everything here, guys. This is collective therapy, as we say. It's only the second time we've had to do therapy in this fashion after a loss, but it hurts. I'm going to share my thoughts off rip as I'm and I appreciate everybody just chatting here, and I'm gonna try to get to as many comments as I can, and just rap with y'all. It's 1:30 where I am Central Time, so wherever you're watching, I know it's very late, but it's college football this time of year. Post New Year's, Happy New Year's. This is the first show of 2024 on this channel. This is a special occasion where we got to rap. Anyway, getting to it. Let me first say this. Washington was the better football team. Don't get it twisted. We can talk ourselves in all scenarios. Were we in a position to steal that football game at the end? Absolutely. Is there some things that we could take back or blah blah blah? Absolutely. But the reality of the situation is we lost to a football team that's won 21 games in a row for a reason. That has beaten us twice in the last 12 months for a reason. Both both games by one score, that 6 point margin there. A football team that has an ability to exploit our biggest weakness. And look, we have to be honest with ourselves. There's certain things I'm upset about. And I want to make this clear. Everything we're talking about is in the context of the Sugar Bowl. I am not if I'm assigning blame, if I'm heavily critical of a player or a coach or whatever, that is in context of the Sugar Bowl. We are not talking about the whole season right now. And I thought I made that clear in the preview, but I want to reiterate that. It's not over the course of the season, I'm damn proud of this team. And there's some things that I saw tonight that I love. There's some players that had some great games tonight. There's a lot of good to take away from today. But in terms of what happened, I told you guys that Washington passing game with those receivers can not just threaten this defense, but it's funny because when you react to something, when they name the playoffs, most times your initial reaction is actually the proper reaction in a lot of ways. And Tran and I sat here and we talked ourselves out of it because we're fans and there's 28-day layoff. And we talk yourselves into anything. But when we first got the matchup, what is that we said, y'all? We said this is the worst matchup for Texas. I wanted to play Bama again. I wanted to play Michigan because Michael said it here, styles make fights. Absolutely. And if you know ball, many of you do, that's why you're here. If you know ball, Washington could exploit a lot of these things. We saw it in the Alamo Bowl. We saw it again tonight. And another thing is I think a lot of people underestimated their offensive line. I think we overrated some things or we talked ourselves into some things? And I asked that question yesterday with our last second thoughts regarding what passing attack had we remotely seen as complex and as dynamic as Washington this year? And we had not seen one because Dylan Gabriel, when they beat us, Dylan Gabriel was running all over the place. And if you notice, Michael Penix, who doesn't run, and they actually installed some QB run with him too, which they took from some of the other teams that played us. Very smart. But we hadn't seen anything like that. And I think that's going to be interesting in the national championship game of how Michigan counters that because Michigan hadn't seen no passing attack like that either, quite frankly. I mean, you look at the passing attacks in the Alabama Michigan game in the Rose Bowl, juxtaposed to the passing attack that Washington has. That is an NFL level passing attack. Not just the talent, the receivers, but the scheme and everything that they're doing. And look, I'm not gonna I'm not going to be the person there were times where we had coverage busts and mistakes. Yes. There's times where we had just flat bad coverage. Yes. But I'm not over here. I see people over here trying to beat up on Ryan Watts and Terrence Brooks and all these type of dudes. Y'all, this is the same narrative we tried to do with Jalen Green and them boys in 2019 when y'all didn't realize who Justin Jefferson was yet, when you didn't realize who Jamar Chase was yet, when you didn't realize who Joe Burrow was yet because they were still in college. But looking back at it, it's like, oh yeah, there's no way in hell anybody would have been able to check those dudes. Well, that's where Roma Dunze is headed because that's Devontae Adams all over again. That's where Jalen McMillan's headed. That's where Jalen Polk is headed. Those are NFL guys. And Michael Penix, knee aside, outstanding throw of the football. And the difference you saw with Penix and Quinn, is Penix has so many more. Penix can rip a football into a tight window. He can throw at velocity. He can throw with touch. He can throw the outside drop of the bucket. And Quinn struggles with some of those things. And I think you saw that tonight. You didn't see the sharpest version of Quinn. So I want to make that clear. Okay. A lot of people talking about DBs not turning with the football, blah, blah, blah. Yes, some at times I can see that. However, Roma Dunze, technique wise, does not give you a tell when the ball is in the air. It is a lot easier to say than do. And the reason why I say that is because one of the techniques I've learned from Devontae Adams and watching him play, and Randy Moss used to do this, they don't declare their hands or give any tell that the ball is even being thrown to them until it is there. And so as a DB, it's really hard to just instinctively turn when you don't even know the ball is in the air. That's the technique of the receiver. And that's really, really high level elite stuff that most guys in college don't do and you'll never see. And those guys do that. Those guys catch back shoulder and contest it the whole bit. And so I understand, yeah, there's times where we can maybe find it and make a play on the ball, but there's times where it's like, if I don't know where the ball is, my job is to try to reduce space on the sideline so the ball's either going to go out of bounds or you make a very difficult catch and I try to make a play on it. That's it. I thought Ryan Watts did a fantastic job doing that. Terrence Brooks, one time he even tried to do a pass interference, which I thought we should have done more of. But at some point, Texas fans, we got beat by a better team. Now, they gave us some opportunities. They muffed a punt. They did some dumb stuff. They had a personal foul penalty where they kept us. They gave us some opportunities where sometimes we took advantage, and we gave it up a lot too, right? And we'll get into all that. We'll get into the fumbles. We'll get into coaching decisions. We'll get into the opening game strategy and scheme and uh, screen passes and all this type of stuff. But to me, at the end of the day, what's John Wayne saying, Cap? To me, at the end of the day, the football team I saw out there, even coaching wise, Washington was sharper. How they handled the layoff, how they came out of of halftime. Washington dominated the third quarter. Go look at the time of possession. We had 2 drives in the third quarter. So, you know, look, I'm not upset with those boys had those boys had their hands full with them. Now, where I'm frustrated and I think we got exploited, I'll be clear here. We really showed why we need Colin Simmons and as much edge talent to come here as possible. And I know the brother from UTSA as well. Um, we outside of occasional interior pressure, Alfred Collins had a good game. Byron Murphy had a good game. I'm not sure what was going on with Tavondre Sweat and the conditioning or what was, he was effective when he was in, but he couldn't play very much. Uh, we had moments where we got interior pressure, but they were far and far and in between, right? It was we Michael Penix was back there making a sandwich. And when we tried to blitz, they were ready for it. They were able to read it. They were a step ahead. Um, we got exploited there bad, right? And so we can the cover guys. They're like, hey, we're dealing with the best receivers in the country, and there's no one's even forcing the quarterback to the slightest bit of inaccuracy. I thought our guys held up well against the run for the most part. I thought, yeah, our edge guys, Ethan Burke had a good game. Run fits and holding down setting the edge. I'll give him that. Baron Sorrell as well. But when we look at pressure and how Washington is constructed, and people are like, oh, we're not going to let Washington run the football. They don't care about that. I mean, they and look, Michael Penix experience matters, all those things. But it was tough. It was tough. Let me get these couple super chats. Hoping to hear. Thank you for the donation. Hoping to hear Tran on awful offensive line and defensive line played today. Um, the offensive line, pass pro wise, was they struggled. I got to talk to Brother Tope on that one. There was couple times where I saw Christian kind of just overset in his stance, and you saw some guys were able to work underneath. There were some communication issues with Jake Majors. Look, from the opening, here's a trivia question. What was the first play of the game? Somebody in the chat. Who's let's see the first person to get the correct answer here. What was the very first snap of the game? I'm waiting for the answer here. First snap of the game. Because it's going to lead me to habits. The very first snap of the game, what happened? False start. It was the snap, right? It was Jake Majors where he did the snap infraction, right? First play of the game. That's our first snap after being off for 28 days, and we have a pre-snap penalty to start the game. Habits in close, tight margin games where we end up losing by 6 after all the BS happened. All the credit I've just given to Washington and their 21-game win streak and how awesome Michael Penix is, it still came down to that much in this football game. But when you start the game in that, and thank you guys for answering the question. When you start with penalties pre-snap, and you have, y'all tell me, passing game wise, this is just what I'm seeing. They weren't sharp passing game. Texas wasn't. I think they were surprised. This is some things I'm saying. I think Texas and Sark were surprised that Washington coverage-wise was a lot better than the narrative of them having the 100 and what other passing rank defense. And scheme-wise, they weren't able, you didn't see Worthy or A.D. Mitchell just getting naked wide open intermediate. Washington took that away. They used their time properly, and they were dialed up on all of our route combinations. That's number one. Number two, We have some success with screen early, but everybody knows if you watch Texas, Texas is one of the high, use screen teams. And once they took that away, we really didn't get back to just running the football until that second drive where we had to answer, which is like kind of reading the room. That's where we kind of should have lived more and created play action off of that because our RPO worked better. Some of the slants we hit on RPO later in the game worked better once Baxter and Blue started getting going. That's where we had success. And if I'm Michigan, I'm starting with Blake Corn and them and just running the ball down their throat until them backers and them come up. And that's when you can throw on Washington. And I think we came out looking at stats and all these type of things, trying to pass, and we have pass protection issues, and guys are not getting open, and the quarterback and the receivers aren't on the same page. And I'm not getting. There's certain times where I'm getting good ball from the quarterback, and there's other times where I need some juice on the throw, and he's throwing lobs. There's all sorts of things. And then there's times where we just make a play. But all of those inconsistencies get you beat. And those are habits we've seen throughout the season with Texas. It's funny because so many of our good habits came home in this game, overcoming adversity, fighting, just freaking, short yardage defensively, you know, the explosiveness in the run game that we do have when we get guys in space. We had some good habits come through, absolutely. We were opportunistic when we did get when we were gifted opportunities from Washington. Some good habits came through. Absolutely, thought we made some adjustments in the fourth quarter, but our bad habits, the pre-snap penalties, beating ourselves, lack of communication on the back end and coverage. We had some, balls being snapped, safeties are still talking to each other, and they don't know who has Mo and who has who. So, when you start to look at all these things, it's like, well, we've been struggling with some of that shit since Wyoming. And we tried to convince ourselves that some things got fixed. And it's like, okay, well, they got fixed against Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. All right. But that was also a month ago. And those bad habits start to creep in again. Um, this team has Texas fight, no doubt about it. And that's why I think we all love them and we're proud of them. And over big thing, great season for Texas. Fun as hell. Texas fight through and through. But in the context of the Sugar Bowl, really frustrating. RC, thank you for the super chat. To me, the keys to the game was Texas fumbling the ball. This Texas secondary wasn't going to stop this passing offense. Hook 'em from Japan. Hook 'em, RC. Thank you, and happy New Year to you, RC. Yeah, those fumbles are huge. Anytime you have turnovers in a game of this sort, you saw that in the Alabama-Michigan game as well. Turnovers are huge in these playoff games, especially when you're having time of possession challenges as well. And that third quarter was killed us. I will say this though, that was where we really miss a guy like a Jonathan Brooks, and I think Jonathan Brooks probably has a 200-yard day against this Washington team. In all seriousness, um, run pass yards combined, and just being able to really really rely on him. However, I'm not killing Jaden Blue and Cedric Baxter for those fumbles. It's not like those guys have been fumbling all year. Blue had one fumble early in the year, and I know he had been in the doghouse for it, but he made so many more plays than the issue with the fumble. I know he had the drop too. Young guys, right? These are the guys we're relying on. We have had injuries. Let's be honest. And Cedric Baxter, again, I thought more good than bad. Wait till I pull up the box score. One will wonder how healthy Xavier Worthy was. He had the one big catch. Other than that, he had a catch for 7 yards. And obviously the situation with Adonai Mitchell. So, and Jatavian Sanders gets hurt. So my young guys were the most productive members of my offense, really. let me. Lots of chats coming in here, so let me. Yeah, this Rational Texan. I agree here. Um, Penix movement in the pocket was impressive as well. The way he sidestepped Byron Murphy, there was times where he sidestepped, guys kind of coming in his face and just was able to move into a throwing window. Nothing crazy. That's NFL type stuff, but just moving into a window, sliding into a window versus the pressure. That's how I'd like to see Quinn develop in his movement, by the way. And I think he can get there, but we want to see that development, especially going to the SEC next year. The more football you play, the more you see, the better you should get. I want to see that same type of movement because um, you don't have to be Lamar Jackson running all over the place to get opportunities. And look, that's a plus for me today too. Quinn did use his legs. I think 8 carries for 54 yards, so he did take what was there when it was given to him. Thank you for the earlier super chat. Let's see. Yeah, we had 2 drives and 5 2 drives and 5 plays in the third quarter. Killed us. Killed us. Penix, this is a Bevo guy. Penix was basically unsackable because of how great his pocket presence is, his aloofness and ability to make accurate throws on the run. 100% agree. That also helps your offensive line. That's why they don't. Sacks aren't just an offensive line stat. Everything's nuanced. Same way I look at interceptions, but a lot of that can be on the quarterback, right? So one of the reasons why Quinn had some challenges too is he's trying to move. He tried to step up one time and guys really, he's sliding into where we have something blocked, but he's sliding into where the other side where somebody can tackle him, right? And that, again, just feel comes with experience. And that's something that Penix at the collegiate level is really, really freaking good at and did a great job with it today. You saw in the game earlier, Jalen Milrow struggled mightily with that, with his offensive line. Alabama's offensive line was a mess, but you also saw Jalen some of the bad habits where he would step into the pressure. I saw that with Quinn at times where he would step into the pressure versus Penix sliding laterally or knowing when to go backwards, but not always to go backwards. Um, Impressive. I thought Sark should have been a more aggressive running the football from the beginning of the football game. I that's one head scratcher for me that um, coming in, especially when we started seeing a lot of the juice that we had getting downhill, explosive runs, some of the holes that we were creating. We're talking about the offensive line, their pass pro challenges. They were getting it on in the run game, but uh, we had a couple drives where we didn't even run the ball. We would go play action and throw it away or try to get back into our screen. And it's kind of concerning too because they mentioned on the broadcast about scripted plays and Sark scripting. He scripts 40 plays in the game. Most play callers script 10 to 15. And while that sounds cool and it's great and all, in a game like this, we actually needed to adjust quicker and go off script and run the ball. And that actually worked against us. And I think that worked into Washington's favor because he was so determined to you worked on that script for a month and you think you have these things set up. You think you have beaters. And yes, some of it is lack of execution. I did it. He had a beater to Jaden Blue that was dropped. They went back to it. He caught it. But reading the room, it's like, oh, we can just run the ball on these guys. Fuck the script. Like, run the football. And when we did, and we kind of focused on it, I thought we were able to move the ball at will. And it's funny because Doc on Twitter tweeted the moment that Kalen DeBoer realizes that he can just throw on Texas every play, he'll get out of his own way. Is accurate. And the moment that Sark can realize that, hey, you can just run on Washington, you don't need to mess around with all this stuff. we'll be better. And we were slow to adjust to that, and then we got behind, and then we didn't have the clock, and then the fumbles and guys are pressing, and the fumbles are coming because people are trying to break tackles, and it spirals. And some parts of this game spiral. Again, I'm happy that we had the mental fortitude and toughness to get out of it and keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. I didn't see people quitting. I didn't see us give up. That's why we had an opportunity to win this game at the end, at the 15-yard line. And we'll get to that sequence. But man, good point, Quentin. First defensive play was a penalty as well. You are what you are at this point of the year, guys. Good point. Good point. You are what you are at this point of the year. Now, I want to say this too. I'm not going to get mad if we lose. In my opinion, we lost to a better team and they outplayed us. Like they just flat out outplayed us. Tip your hat. Dude goes and mosses somebody. Great. What pisses me off and where I will get on the staff, and this is again in context of this game, it is stupidity to do what they were doing with the kickoff situation. And there are too many smart people on that sideline for bullshit like that to occur in a game like this. And I don't understand how they're not aware of it. Keelan Robinson hurt his hand in practice. And it's tough. It's tough. Like, I understand how much we rely on Keelan for special teams. Shit happens. I get it. The guy's wearing a big ass cast. It's like an oven mitt out there. I understand if he's on coverage teams. Why is he part of Hans' team? Why is he on any type of return unit at all under those conditions? We opened the game with Jaden Blue returning kicks. He was doing fine returning the kicks. We then decide to go to Keelan Robinson, and some people are trying to tell me, oh, they want a veteran back there. Then put Jordan Whittington back there. Put Savion Red back there. Put someone back there that has two working hands to field the fucking ball. Am I like the fact that we didn't and then they acted as if Washington wasn't gonna test it. Kalen and them are smart. As soon as they see Keelan go back there, they're telling their guy, the guy squibbed it perfectly. Let me see you pick up that ball. The fact that I have a guy out here with one hand having to pick up the ball with one hand like this, that could have been that to me. That's not. And people are asking me, well, Steve, you seem to be more upset about that than you are about the fumbles. I'm upset about everything, but the fumbles is at least a matter of effort and will, and my young backs are doing too much, and Tashar Choice will coach them up for that. But they were fighting for their right to party and trying to get yards while we were down and doing too much. But that's an effort thing. But putting somebody out there that should not be out there because they are physically unable to do something is stupid. When you have shitload of people on that sideline that can field a kickoff, I don't get it. That to me, it's like your mind is not all the way where it needs to be to win a game like this as a staff. Joe DeCamillis is over there. I know he knows better. I know Jeff Banks knows better. I know Steve Sarkeesian knows better. That hurts the team. And I know again, it's not a turnover, it's not the worst thing that happened, but it's indicative of the mindset and preparation that has to go into win games of leverage like this. You can't be absent-minded like that. If you beat me, you beat me. If I get beat on a deep route, like Terrence Brooks was getting beat and he went and pass interfered with the guy. I have no problem with that. The guy took me. I go and have to gotta run him down, whatever. And it was smart. Instead of giving up a 52-yard completion, I tackle the guy at 15 yards. We live to fight another day. I don't have problems with mistakes that are of effort or if the team is better than me. But don't do dumb shit like this in the Sugar Bowl. That shit was embarrassing, fam. That's my piece on it. And this staff has done a fantastic job this year. This is in context to the game today. That was some dumb shit. And I don't care if it's Nick Saban that's won multiple championships. If you do something dumb, I'm gonna comment on it during the game. Here's another thing too. This maybe can help people feel a little bit better. Drew, thank you for the super chat. I know I'm behind on comments, so I'm gonna try to get caught up. Thank you for the super chat. I am proud of this team overall. It was a fun ass season. It was a great season. I how do I want to say this? The good thing is Texas, I believe, with especially in the new playoff system and us being battle tested in the SEC now, I do believe, and it's funny because we actually will have in this last 14 playoff, there is no SEC team in the national championship. It's actually going to be Big Ten versus Pac-12. So there you go. But my point is, when I look at Michigan, we can clown on Michigan and people don't, and whatever. Jim Harbaugh, they made it to the dance 3 years in a row. The last 3 years, Michigan has made the college football playoff, and they got bounced expeditiously by Georgia. They were overconfident and blew a game against TCU. And then this year they came back and beat Bama. My point is, if you establish that consistency in your program, we can get back here and have what you have to give Michigan credit for is and Harbaugh and them, they just put together at bats. More at bats, more chances we have to generate runs and have success. And that's the way I look at my NFL team, my Cowboys. Like, keep making the playoffs because eventually you're gonna get the right matchup, something's gonna bounce your way, and you're gonna break through. But keep making it. Don't let this just be one and done. Don't let this just be the good year and then we go back to being 8-5. Keep getting back here. The way they're recruiting, the way they're developing, the amount of young guys that play today, it's a good sign. Let's get back here and be sharper next time. Now y'all know what it takes. Maybe there's some things you would do differently with your layoff that you would change. Maybe there's some things intensity wise. Hey, you know what? Maybe we ease up a little bit. We don't want to lose people in practice or end up in a situation where we're short. You know, how to handle guys' bodies better. Um, Alex was right here. You know, Worthy clearly was not 100%. And it sucks because, I was hoping we would get a rested, 100% Worthy. I mean, he was to the point where he couldn't even field punts at the end of the game. Jordan Whittington had to field the punts. So um, that was tough. Yeah, the ESPN Arch stuff was annoying, but that's what you're gonna get. Especially, I mean, they're driving a storyline, they're driving clicks. I get it. It's annoying for us, but now it was relevant because when Quinn got tackled at that point where his helmet hit the ground really, really hard, um, of course that's like, man, is that's a moment where Arch might come in the game, blah blah blah. But yeah, it was annoying. I agree. Yeah, I have a lot of questions about the game plan too, tonight. Um, Especially getting away from the run after they noticed that and the whole 40 play script thing that I don't ever want to hear that again. You got to read the room sometimes. And look, they to from Sark, it wasn't all Sark. There was plays. The play at the very last play of the game. To me, Quinn Ewers, you got to put that ball on a rope to AD. The way Penix does back shoulder, he doesn't put a whole lot of air on some of them balls to a Dunze or to Polk on the other side when he's working those guys. He's those are rope throws. And so, especially it's like more of a comeback route and the AD has got leverage inside on that corner. I want that on a rope. I don't want you to lob it and allow the guy to come and play me over the top. So I'm not mad at Sark. That's not a play call thing. He kind of got what he wanted. If I'm Sark, that's a lot of separation there. So some of that is just execution. Yeah, we were outplayed. I do think the layoff matters in terms of how sharp you are, Seaker, but we were outplayed. Yes, I agree with that. Nah, I don't think the defense gave up. I don't believe that. I think that they were overwhelmed talent wise and scheme in some senses and PK. All right, let's talk about PK. PK is dealing with a team where yes, they are pass happy, but they have little elements where they mix in their run. And was Washington super successful running the ball? No, but they get what they need to get when they need to get it. And he's not trying to blitz too much against a veteran quarterback that's moving well so that then, guys are on an island on the back end, but then now he's playing more coverage and Penix has all this time because we're not able to generate pressure with our front four against that level of offensive line play. And they're able to have time and find their windows and throw through windows. So he's kind of screwed. And Derek gets out there. We got Derek back in the second half, but they smartly kind of went after Derek later because he hadn't been in the rhythm of the game. And you saw they picked on some of our guys strategically. And there was familiarity with some of our guys because they just played us in the Alamo Bowl. And that game mattered. Personnel wise, they tendency wise, there's things they noticed and picked up. There's things we noticed and picked up too. It goes both ways. Of course, right? I thought we ran the ball way better this time around than we did in San Antonio last year. There's things we picked up too. But from a, sharpness and look, the way Washington, I felt like Washington raised the intensity. When we tied the game at the end of the second quarter, I loved how we finished in our 2-minute drill. We go into halftime, we're tied up 21 up, finish strong. And I felt like Washington raised the level of intensity when they came out surgical their first drive and they got the ball. And it made me feel like we were going to press, and then that fumble occurs, and now we're down 2 scores. And then we don't have the ball the rest of the quarter. That's tough. That's tough. That's the opponent beating you, though. Let's not get it twisted. We got to give credit where credit is due. I mean, if you understand what you're looking at. Washington saw keyed on that cast like I don't know why we took Jaden Blue off returns. I guess because we were using him more outright on offense, maybe. But it didn't. I really didn't understand it. I mean, Washington had some dumb moments too. They did a wildcat package on fourth down into the teeth of our defense. That was pretty silly. And the penalty that they had um, on the punt to Jordan Whittington, they had some dumb over aggressiveness stuff. But for the most part, they were more disciplined and buttoned up than we were, in my opinion. I mean, I don't understand why Red couldn't be in there on kick return if that was. I mean, just something different. Worthy's banged up. Worthy's really you could tell. I mean, I could tell. I could tell at the end of the season. And something got re-aggravated. I knew he was going to play today. I knew there was no doubt about it. And I don't think they'll ever admit it until way later. But He was not 100% at all. Um, where I think I'm also frustrated too is like we talk about back shoulder and some of the contested stuff that Washington does. I don't know why we don't spam some of that stuff more with, and we didn't have stuff better timed up with guys like AD Mitchell. Um, it's just I don't know. I mean, that's how we got the touchdown. That last touchdown, right? Was was working him back shoulder in the red area when it was a catchable ball. You saw what he did, and he caught that thing and didn't even jump properly. So you can tell what teams emphasize and what they work on. Washington works on that constantly, and we don't. That's not what we do. We have the personnel to do it, and I think we have a quarterback that can do it if that's what he works on. But I don't think we work on that enough unless we're in the red zone area. Our 6-year QB is the way to win, though. I mean, look at Stetson. Didn't he win the last two? And he was in college for 7 years. I mean, experience does matter. Absolutely. Experience matters a ton in what you've seen, but it's not just one person. I mean, that team is fantastic. So there's a whole squad he got around him, just like Stetson had a whole squad around him. I knew Marlon was here. Look, let me get the stats up here because Marlon's ready to throw out some allegations, and I don't know how I'm gonna weather the storm with this because I you know we can have an honest conversation. I want to have an honest and open conversation about today's game. Okay, this isn't. I don't want to do this. There we go. I'm ready to have an honest and open conversation about today's game. Okay. Now with Quinn, these numbers and honestly, that right there is almost 50%. So the completion percentage is not good. And we can get into the advanced stats in terms of yards per attempt, blah blah blah, all that type of stuff. Those yards are not indicative of what we saw. Absolutely not. For most part of the game, he was sitting at like 100 yards passing at like 10 for 20. So I want to be explicitly clear here. For all the credit and I love Quinn and I want Quinn to come back because I think that experience matters. We talk about Quinn, Penix on them having all this experience. I think Quinn needs to come back to Texas next year without a doubt. He needs to work. I think it would be beneficial for both parties. I think it's a lot to ask Arch Manning to take over with very little experience going to the SEC next year. I think one more year for Arch to kind of be waiting in the wings, ready to go, and one more year for Quinn will be beneficial to both. That being said, if we're being honest, Quinn did not have a very good game today. He had some good moments. Not everything was his fault. The pass blocking was poor, and I don't think that really allowed him to get into the rhythm he'd like. I don't think the coach helped him at the beginning of the game by, you know, playing into Washington's hands of what they wanted to see. But Quinn's most effective offense for the most part today was his legs. That's where he was really good decision making wise. Now I know he didn't have any turnovers or anything like that, but um, I mean, even in that 318, he just really struggled to get the ball to Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell. That's we go as those guys have gone. Those are our number one pass catchers. 6 targets, 2 catches. What was that? 33%. 12 targets, 4 catches. So your number one and your number two receivers, 33%. Versus go over here and look at Washington. 7 targets, 6 catches, 5 targets, 5 catches, 8 targets, 6 catches, 6 targets, 5 catches. I mean, those numbers don't lie, folks. That's not all Sark's fault. And that's not all the offensive line's fault. Everybody owns this loss. Everybody owns this loss. So I just want to I just want to reiterate that. I just want to reiterate that. John, John, I know we're all Texas fans here. Yes, could we have beaten Washington? Absolutely. Do teams that are not better than other teams beat some of these teams all the time? That's why we play the games. That's why we play the games. But John, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Because if we're gonna do that, then you got to go both ways. Because Washington didn't play their A game. There's a lot of shit that Washington messed up today. We got to be honest. We got very lucky to even be. It took Dylan Johnson being injured for us to even have a chance at the last drive, or else we're not even having this conversation for a lot of this stuff. I know. Look, we I know we get siloed and we're in our fan bubbles and all that type of stuff, but brother, our A game. I don't see us throwing the ball like we're seeing. We have not shown that all year. Not to that, not to that proficiency the way they did. No, let's be honest with ourselves. Yeah, we could have beat them, but there's a reason why they're 2-0 against us in the last 12 months. There's a lot of teams that have, Oregon can say that, by the way. Both games. Both games, Oregon can say, oh, well, if we played our A game, we would have beat Washington. Nah, we can't look at we can do that with so many different games. Oregon can literally do the same thing. And this is why people keep sleeping on Washington and they're 9-point dogs against Oregon. They're 3.5-point dogs against us. They're 4.5-point dogs against Michigan. So look, we're not giving Washington too much credit. They were the better team today. It's okay to be honest. It's okay to be honest. Did we screw some things up and make our own mistakes and get in our own way? Absolutely. Are there things we could have done differently? Could we have coached better? Could we have executed better? Absolutely. You tell me what you would have done differently if you were PK, John 86 Wayne. We're just having a conversation. We're just talking ball. I'm not trying to fight with you or anything. But I want to know, with our edge talent, with Ethan Burke, Justice Finkley, Baron Sorrell, all the people we have, and our DBs, what you would have done differently from PK that would have changed the outcome of this game. Please let me know. I'm curious. It's worth us having a worth us having a you know conversation about it. They absolutely deserve the credit. And again, matchups. Michigan might come in there into Houston next week and just run the ball 50 times and not allow Washington and what they make a couple of mistakes, and that's it. We didn't do that. Yes, Alex Bullock this year was awesome. Overall, tough loss tonight, but this was awesome season. Um, I think as we also realize, like, we were we were a what do you call it? We obviously we deserved to be here. We were one of the four best teams in the country. We just weren't the best team in the country. And I'm not going to lose any sleep at night over that, considering where we were a year ago, considering where we were, what we thought we could, the things that were accomplished this year. because their goal was to win the Big 12, was to leave and the hateful eight behind and do that was their goal. You said nowhere near enough target. Thank you for the comment, H post. Appreciate the $10. Um, I mean, 12 targets is a lot. They just weren't good targets. I mean that he had the most targets in the game. If we're going technical, Adunze only had 7 targets, and one could say Adunze is the best football player in the game. That's the guy that's going to be a top 15, top 20 pick. Assuming he runs okay. He only had 7 targets. So now AD Mitchell, I don't even know when he got his first catch. I think it may have been the third or fourth quarter when he actually got going, which was very frustrating. But um, yeah, that was tough. That was tough. Let's see. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe Sweat and Murphy got a single holding call all season. Yeah, they those guys got screwed over the course of the year. I know a lot of people made a big deal out of Washington, and they had a small center and all this type of stuff. This is again why I'm saying how much of a factor did that end up playing out in the game? How many times did you notice that Washington had a small center while watching the game? Maybe a couple times in some short yardage scenarios, and other than that, they know how to play with that. This is a team like we act like the Pac-12 was trash this year. This is a team that played defenses like Utah. Utah has big ass Samoan people up front that are big like our people that they were able to manage. So I don't know. I felt like over the last few months, some of us in our fan base developed this arrogance or this sense of delusion, as if we're a really really good team, happy to be here, but now we have no holes. We're a juggernaut. We have no weaknesses, and we're going to be just insane. And Washington stinks, and Penix is overrated, and they barely beat Arizona State, and they barely beat this team, and it's like we're losing sight of what these teams have done, especially if you really watch them play. Appreciate another super chat from H Post. Thank you, really appreciate that. Hook 'em. Need to establish the run. Yep, agree. Um, the targets. I mean, I didn't like the targets. Marlon, I know you've been saying eight pass deflections for Washington. Some of that is Quinn and the trajectory of the balls, and a lot of that is Washington. I know Washington defensive coordinator and those folks are going to say, "Yeah, that's our fault. We were prepared, and we were able to get our hands on balls." A lot of those pass deflections also were play calling because we were running RPO. And granted, now some of that was maybe there was times where Quinn should have given the football and because it is a run pass option. Maybe there's times where, hey Quinn, go ahead with that give, and let's wait till those lanes are a little cleaner, because we had a lot of deflections from what I recall off of some of the RPO stuff that were really frustrating. Um, but I also thought we were trying to force that stuff early, play calling wise. Where it's like, dude, just run the ball. Let's get some cleaner lanes as we make their linebackers and their safeties have to come up to stop our backs, right? And I didn't like the sequencing of the plays a lot of the times there, just for this game. I think Sark is a tremendous play caller. Obviously, he's won championships and he's done his thing, but in those scenarios, I didn't like what I saw. Yeah, I agree, Crispy. That's my takeaway as well. And I think we can become an even better football team over time. Absolutely. I don't think this is going to be the best. I love this team because this team will always hold a special place in my heart, because this was the team that really solidified Texas being back at the national stage, and we're not a joke. We're serious. We're and what it meant for the kids, especially the kids that were carryovers from the Tom Herman era, and all that they built and solidified, leaving the Big 12 and leaving as champions. This team will always hold a special place in my heart. But I also believe that there's better versions of Steve Sarkisian teams to come. I don't think this is going to be the best version, personally. I think there's better versions to come where they will have less flaws and more advantages to play different styles and to play against a team like this in the future. I don't think that was this team, as much as I love them, because those we've seen those habits since Rice, and that's why we do these reactions and talk ball like this. We've seen those habits. I said the same thing. Y'all go look at my tweets. Kai Pace, Penix was throwing lasers, and a lot of those we had excellent coverage. I'm telling y'all, there's so many times where you're as a DB, you if you don't know the ball is thrown, you're not even sure what to look for. You're just trying to take away space and have a deflection or whatever. These guys were throwing it with insane precision. Insane precision. I agree with this, Marlon. Shouldn't have thrown the ball that much. I think nobody had 10 carries. I know Baxter got hurt again, which that's my only concern about him long term is that just keeps to be a reoccurring theme. But hopefully that's something he can shake off at just getting his body right at Texas. But with as efficient as we ran it, 9 carries, so 18 carries between our two lead backs. And that, Quinn's stuff was obviously ad lib, so that doesn't count. Because those are dropbacks. So I mean, eight. That's really 51 dropbacks. 8 of them converted to a run, and we were never down. It's not like we were down a couple scores in the second half, but we weren't in this destitute position where we were down 3 scores and had to throw the ball a whole bunch of times to come back. I'm disappointed with that number, quite frankly. 18 carries with what we were getting. I guarantee you, Michigan's number is going to be in close to 40 when they play. So that's frustrating for me. That's one where I would like to talk to Coach Sark and get perspective on why he didn't adjust to that differently. Another super chat from H Post. Um, my factors for the game were Penix having more than 400 yards and less than 2 turnovers. He met both. They won. Those are strong factors. Strong factors. Not only not only did we not touch Penix, there were so many times where we're not even getting pressure. Or yeah, there's times where he moved. Yeah, I gave him credit earlier for that, but um, seeing Ethan Burke getting driven into the ground and pancake, those are elite tackles. Justice Finkley's going all out. I give him credit. He's playing as hard as he can. But he gets to the quarterback finally and then, just falls down. And, I didn't see the Baron Sorrell that I thought I could see getting active pass rushing wise. And, those tackles are badasses, both of those Washington tackles, but our guys are just not effective at all, pass rushing wise, at all. interior guy, Byron Murphy was able to get something again at times, but it's a big thing I'm going to pay attention to in the rewatch. They weren't even able to get into throwing lanes or be any like. There's to me, if you're not able to get sacks, be disruptive. What are our disruptive plays? What do we do? And so PK had to get really creative with trying to send some blitzes. Jalen Ford was starting to be blitzed a lot. There were times where he tried to deploy Anthony Hill. Um, but at that point, you're really grasping at straws if you're PK with your personnel in that scenario. Marlon said, "I tell you what, I would have done differently if I was PK." He said he's running that flyover that he caught 3-3-5, or I'm playing straight up with my best DBs. Washington pass blocked all well. Yeah, there's a reason why they won the Joe Moore Award, but we had fans, we had people getting a little arrogant, thinking that, oh well, they haven't seen us or we're big, we don't play in the pack, blah blah blah. I'm like, I I would have thought we would be better than that, considering we just lost to them in a bowl game last year, where they did pretty well against us at the line of scrimmage, but we ignored that. I wanted more from the offense too, and this kind of goes into to the next comment here from the Opinion Sports Show, which is a good question. Do you think Texas ever reached its potential offensively? I guess you mean for the season. No, in my opinion. I thought they had a very good year, but to me, their potential is more so what we saw, how they were, the efficiency that they moved the ball and the way they executed against Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. Those, more so Oklahoma State, because Texas Tech, they even had challenges there. But no, no. Very good season offensively. And overall, obviously, an outstanding season. Defense was great, special teams, blah, blah. But offensively, no. This wasn't one of Sark's best. They were consistent. They always got to 30 points. Again, we got to 31 points, almost 500 yards. But situationally, all year we struggled where? We struggled in the red zone. We struggled in short yardage. Our first loss, we had first and goal at the 1 yard line against OU. We're not able to score in four downs. That's not a that's not good, right? Third down offense has been below average all year. They're on third downs. We have a lot of talent, and I thought we had a lot of good production, but no, I'm being honest. I don't think we ever reached our potential, overall potential. No, and that's why I want a lot of guys to come back personally, because I think they can ascend to another level. How? I know he needed it. He needed it, but what could we have done with our personnel differently? Washington had an answer for every pressure. There were some where we were talking. I don't think it helps when, unfairly to me, Derek Williams wasn't able to play in the first half, and you know, we're trying to communicate with Taff and all those guys. Hey, there's a reason. Pay attention to where coaches and this staff looks to target things in the portal, right? There's a reason why, and recruiting. There's a reason why we were after the Philisame kid that we flipped from Florida. There's a reason why we were after Makuba from Clemson, right? There's a reason why we went after Jalen Catalon last year. Coaches are telling you. And I'm not trying to shit on anybody in the room. Okay. That's not the point. The point is they know where they're challenged and where they're trying to get better. There's a reason why they went and got the young man from UTSA and bringing in Colin Simmons and bringing in Zena for pass rushing and still offering other people. There's a reason why they're trying to get different types of receivers in the portal and not having all of one of the same type of guy. This Texas staff with who they recruit and who they are targeting in the portal are telling you where the weaknesses are. There's a reason why they were offering all them safeties. They know they have a challenge there. There's a reason why we have how many corners are in this class coming in. Kobe Black, Wardell Mack, uh, uh, Santana, all these dudes. There's a reason the coach, but I'm that's a good thing because at least they're aware of where they what they need to fix and how to address things moving forward. That's a good thing. That's a positive. That's not negative for me. I want to make that clear. Let me bring up the defensive stats. I don't think I showed that yet. Jalen Ford, 10 combined tackles, Watts, Burke. Notice here you won't see any sacks. Um, guys fought hard, don't get me wrong. Manny fought hard in coverage. Terrence Brooks, got challenged early. But I also thought he made a headsy play later to keep himself alive. Stinks. H Post, great season. Brought me back to being a kid. Absolutely. Didn't expect to compete for a natty, but expected 10-2 in a Big 12 title. Hey, that's a win. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you. That's a win. That's a win. That was a successful season. Sark should have swapped QBs in the fourth quarter. I disagree with that. I'm not putting in a true freshman under those scenarios. In that scenario, I think that's extreme, in my opinion. But thank you for the super chat. Yeah, no, I'm proud too, Alex. I'm proud too. Yeah, Marlon, I agree with this actually. Let me. I agree with this comment. I do think that there was some psychological warfare there. 100%. 100%. Make sure you guys hit that like button while you're here. I'm on at 2:30 in the morning. I'm probably going to go to 3 a.m. Um, so help a brother out. Hit the like button. We are here. FP After Dark as Washington has ended our season 37-31 in New Orleans in the Sugar Bowl. H Post, $5 super chat. My point is the run was working. We need to run to get them to sell out and then hit them with the play action. That's where you hit 80. Okay, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying in terms of the target distribution in the ratio with the run game. I got you. Drew, you're right. You're right. But here on this channel is why we always nitpick those things. And thank you for the super chat. But that's why we always nitpick those things because it's still about habits. Drew, let me ask you this question and chat can answer too. Was there anything that Texas did mistake wise that you thought was out of character based upon what you've seen this season? Let me ask that question again. Was there anything you saw from Texas mistake wise that you thought was out of character based upon what you saw this season? Absolutely, the team is going to get the gritty narrative regardless, just for hanging around and being in that position to get to that point. I think they earned that. I'm not taking they have my respect in that regard. They did not quit. They did not lay down. They fought tooth and nail, even when they were overwhelmed personnel wise. But that's the thing. You can't ignore the dirty details. That's what makes or breaks you. That's why you're 0-2 versus Washington in the last 12 months. And Washington knows how to win ugly, and they know how to win close, nasty football games like this. And that's with them making mistakes and doing some dumb shit too. So we gotta be mindful of that. JS, uh, why aren't DBs being taught to locate the ball in the air? Running next to the guy is an accomplishment. I'm tired of this. Most times, yes, I'm with you. Most times, I'm with you. But it's more to it than that. It sounds crazy, especially depending on A, if you're in phase or out of phase, right? B, if you're more so looking to play hands or if you're looking to play, if you're, I guess that goes back to phase. But the point is, they're looking for tells. They're running these Washington receivers all three of them have different types of releases and they all have elite releases. And once somebody runs past you, your first instinct is just to catch up and to get back stride by stride or get aligned with them. And the other thing is you're looking for tells. Most receivers, as soon as the ball's thrown, they're tracking, they got their hands up, and they're showing it's very obvious they're about to get the ball, right? And so, yes, you want your guys to be able to turn and play the football. Go watch Roma Dunze and those guys when they run up the sidelines. They're not giving a tell. They're literally throwing them up at the last second. And so it's a lot more difficult to turn and locate when somebody is that technically sound and doesn't give you the typical tells that most receivers give you when they're about to catch the ball. And that's why Washington is the best in the country. This is not this issue we're seeing today. Yes, we have had problems. I don't want to discount that with that's why we didn't like this matchup when we got it and we wanted to play the more elementary passing teams like Alabama and Michigan. It was a better fit for us. However, this is something that Washington has done to everybody because those guys are that good. Those guys are that good. Um, hey, what's up, Richard Corrigan? Shout out to you. Thank you for your services always. I know you're holding it down for us, protecting us overseas in the military. Said, thanks for the instant interaction. Have you ever thought about coaching? If you ever coach high school and coming your way after military retirement, applying to be on the staff. Thank you, man. And I appreciate it. I think if I get kids, I'm gonna go into maybe I'll go the way of Coach Tran or anything like that. But uh, when I was younger, before I started my career, I was supposed to be a JV offensive coordinator at my high school. They needed somebody to help install the offense, and I had just come off being the quarterback, so they wanted me to go in to be that. But I never really. I did some camps and stuff, but I never went all the way with it. And where I'm going to clinics and really, really dialing in. I started doing some of the coaching clinics, but that passion has just led me more into the commentary route for now. But maybe down the road, you never know. But I appreciate you and thank you. Happy New Year, brother. Love this comment. We are going to miss Jay Witt. Makes me. I'm happy he had his moment to make a big play like that for us. Hell of a football player. I told people all the time, anybody that was ever questioning him coming back, I felt like people were always trying to, in a rush to put somebody in his spot or get a younger guy there or anything like that. And every single time you see why I've always put on for Jay Witt. Every single time. In my opinion, the answer to this question is yes. Is it fair to say our offensive line got outplayed by Washington's pass rush? Yes. And that's something, I'll be honest with you, where I made a mistake. I wasn't expecting that. I thought our offensive line was going to perform better than they did, especially pro wise. And that was not the case. That was not the case. Um, and that's where, look, Braylon Trice and some of the boys up front that don't get a whole lot of, pub, and some of the guys that had come back. Now, Loshifo, he was a higher graded linebacker. That guy's a good linebacker, but Trice had a big game, but I mean, he got off on Kelvin Banks a couple times. If we want to be real, it wasn't just it wasn't just Christian Jones that was having some problems, and obviously we had some interior communication challenges. I don't know if it was Hayden Connor or Jake Majors or what. They were having some troubles with the stunts. It was, some schematic stuff that was really bothering our offensive line, and it clearly impacted Quinn Ewers and him being comfortable, 100%. Age post, we needed to hand it off more. Thank you for the super chat. Um, we were equal despite averaging more than twice per carry than they were. We didn't. I think we got sucked into being behind too. Um, I mean, there was moments where we definitely got more pressure and had Penix move. So I see what you're saying, Marlon, but we weren't, even with that, we weren't disruptive enough. We weren't. I mean, we kind of got lucky with just how some scenarios kind of unfolded to give us an opportunity to get back in the game. But I I don't know. I have to go back and really, really analyze it snap by snap. Maybe I'll change my opinion there. But um, I know you said you would have gone 3-3-5. Even in that, I don't know. Maybe Alfred Collins plays a little bit more in that scenario. I mean, I thought Alfred, was obviously doing a better job trying to move guys off the spot. It just seemed that more times than not, things were too easy for Washington. Things were too easy for Washington when they needed to have any type of just, even third and shorts, knowing that, hey, they're going to struggle to run the football inside. But, oh, no problem. We have our tight end right over the middle. And y'all slept on their tight end. I didn't. I told y'all Jack Westover, 35 catches on the year. They used their tight end. That makes it really difficult to check somebody that's playing out of 11 personnel when the three receivers are all 1,000-yard NFL guys. Oh, and by the way, our tight end also caught 35 balls too. Like, he's involved too. You have to check him. That's just, you know, Texas comms defensively have never been good enough to handle all that passing wise. Absolutely not. Thing is, we played in a conference this year. Who's the next best passer we saw this year? Was it Dylan Gabriel? Alan Bowman? Will Howard? Who's even close to the guy we saw today? Where we saw where our guys are used to seeing the ball all over the place the way Penix was spinning that thing. And Gabe G leads me into this one. Pac-12 QBs. Washington saw a bunch of QBs in the Pac-12. Noah Fafita, Caleb Williams, Cam Ward. Cam Ward just entered the draft today. There's a bunch of QBs in the Pac-12. So people keep shitting on that conference, and it's like they were used to seeing quarterbacks over there. I ask you folks here in the comments, who's the best? Who's the best? Who's the best passing quarterback we saw this year, or scheme? Best passing scheme. Ryan said. Ryan said, "Let's see. Please help me feel better." Oh, the only thing I can do is say we had a fantastic season. You should be very proud of this team. And I don't think that this is the best Sark team we'll see. I don't. I think this is the beginning, and this is a special team for what they accomplished. Um, and I'm not saying that the window is automatically going to open up next year, but you want to try to pile together at bats uh, the way Michigan has the last 3 years, right? Michigan's made the playoffs, college football playoffs the last 3 years, and you see this is the time for them to finally break through. So you just want to pile up at bats, but I'm not discouraged program wise at all. I know Jaden Blue next year is one of my best football players on offense, and we're gonna have a lot of fun with him. I know, I would like to see Jatavian Sanders come back if possible. See what happens with AD Mitchell and those guys. I think our offensive line is going to be better, and I think Quinn Ewers is going to be better. I think defensively, especially with what we're seeing come in the transfer portal and recruiting, I think defensively we have a chance to really take a big leap personnel wise. Also, all the young boys that have played are now going to be a year older with more experience. So there's a lot to feel good about if you're Texas. Manny Muhammad, Terrence Brooks, Anthony Hill. You're going to add Colin Simmons to that group. You're going to have a healthy Darren Gillette come back. Jelani McDonald, you start to figure out more of your athletic freaks that haven't really played yet. We got some, Derek Williams has come along. That's another young boy. Like, there's a lot to feel good about. There's a lot. Who do you think is entering the draft? Thanks for the super chat. I don't know. I don't. If I had to guess, think Byron Murphy. This is just based upon like grade wise, and I think who should go. Think Byron Murphy. Think Xavier Worthy. Think he'll run, especially if he's healthy. He'll run pretty well. Obviously, there's a lot of teams in the NFL that need speed and whatnot. I'd like for AD Mitchell to come back, but we'll see. Maybe he goes. Does have a kid. Um, I think Jonathan Brooks is gone. I think just even with the injury, shelf life, NFL, you know, want to go ahead and get on contract now, get with a team, and have an opportunity to rehab and get back. Trying to think who else off the top of my head. Not guys that we know are already gone, but who's going to enter the draft. Maybe Ryan Watts, maybe. Um, so I'm not sure. Thanks for the super chat, JS. Appreciate it. And y'all hit that like button. Hit that like button. I'm trying to go as late as I can and keep this and get to all the comments here because it's been a long season. Tonight was tough, and I wanna be here with you guys. I want to be here with you guys as we work our way through this and process everything that happened today. but also having the perspective of like, damn, this was a really good season, and there's more to build on. Uh, Thanks for the super chat though. He said, whenever Arch gets his opportunity, his legs are going to be a difference maker. I do agree with that. We're too dependent on Sark's play calling to carry us. I love Quinn, but he's a game manager. Shout out to Cam Newton. And look, like Cam said, game manager is not necessarily a negative term or connotation. But is Quinn Ewers a game changer at this point of his career? I would say no. I would say that he's more in that game manager role. Here's what I'll say. He did not play his best football today. I would give him probably a C of what I saw from Quinn, and that was probably outside of the TCU game his freshman year. That's probably the worst big game he's had. I actually think Quinn was better in the OU game, even with the 2 picks, because he was so surgical in the second half against OU. Um, I do put it on the quarterback when there's a lot of miscommunication with multiple guys route wise. When it's one guy, okay. When it's multiple guys after the layoff, that to me, timing wise, that was frustrating. I give Quinn credit again, resiliency, battling, big boy throw he made to Jordan Whittington, big boy throw, and the talent is there. Here's the other place I'll give Quinn a lot of credit. He worked on a lot of stuff that I had questions about. I was really tough on him early in the year. I did see him improve a lot of those things. Pocket movement. He still has a way to go. His mobility will never be the greatest, but he played through injury. He did a lot of things. He's we can win with him. I think that's clear. I will also say that I think he should come back. I think Quinn Ewers should come back, and this goes to the other super chat, so that he can have another year of development and growth and take another jump like we saw him take from last year to this year. And I think it's mutually beneficial for Texas and for Quinn for him to return. That's just my opinion. But also for Arch, when Arch comes in here and the way his skill set is designed, I mean, Arch skill set wise, he's probably the perfect trigger man to run Sark's offense with the tools that he has in his brain. You do. You have to be elite. I don't think our secondary is trash, but we're not elite. And this passing tack isn't just elite. This passing tack is the best in college football. They're the best of the best. And again, no disrespect to Alabama or Michigan, but those are elementary passing schemes compared to what Washington is doing. It's not even close. It's not even close. Look how they throw posts. Look how they throw back shoulder. Look how they throw comebacks. And the spacing within their route combinations, their route tree, you have to give a lot of credit to Ryan Grubbs and Kalen and them, and how they structure some of the nuances of some of those things. Drew said, "I'll admit I was wrong about Adunze. I know y'all were tripping. I was like, yo, that Rome is a bad boy." um, H Post said, You getting the money I devoted to Bourbon Street had we have won. The money is going to. But thank you in all seriousness. Thank you. Uh, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. For me, to this point, if I'm playing in phase, I have to rely on tells. If I'm playing out of phase and I'm facing the quarter like Trayvon Diggs type style, yeah, I can play the ball a lot more. And that's a thing they got to decide too. To that point, like, are we better with our corners playing out of phase and just playing straight zone and trying to eyes on the quarterback, and even when guys are going to the sideline and just trying to locate the ball, or are we designed to have guys playing on man and they're turning and running and trying to stay attached to the hip, but then they do have to rely on tells, especially if they don't know when the ball's been thrown. If I'm Ryan Watts and I'm trying to run. Terrence Brooks is a better example. I'm trying to run. They threw the ball 60 something yards in the air. I'm trying to run like 60 yards downfield and stay connected with the guy. And I see him sprinting. And I'm just trying to stay connected. But I don't. But if I look up too early, I might lose speed. And some of this is yes, y'all are right. You're gonna say, well, don't they practice ball tracking? Like, isn't that a natural thing? Well, like, yeah, yeah. But it's easier said than done. And again, that's why Washington has been so effective at doing this to everybody. We're it sucks, trust me, but they've been doing this to everybody. No, he wasn't. He wasn't 100%. I don't think Sanders has been 100% for a while, but I he fought. Obviously, um, at this point in the year, how many guys are 100%? Let's be honest, especially guys that have played as much football on downs as he has. Uh, so they don't even get they don't they don't look. Oh man. We got don't we have Arch in there? We had Malik in practice though, bro. We have a bunch of guys that are scout TQBs that give looks. The Houston QB, I would say Dana Holgerson's offense. Oh, and by the way, we have Matthew Golden coming in. But I would say Dana Holgerson's offense and scheme, yeah, maybe. But yeah, obviously he's not there anymore. They got Willie Fritz now. But Donovan Smith, Donovan Smith ain't throwing the rock like Michael Penix. With all due respect, Roy. I think we had some people get hot against us for a little bit and throw the ball well, like Will Howard got hot and threw the ball a little bit. But Marlon, I think it seems that way, right? It can feel that way right now, especially living in the moment. I just asked you to come back to that in a month or two. Did we have an opportunity to win this game today? Hell yeah. We were at the 15-yard line um, with a chance to take a lead and win. Hell yeah. Am I gonna say we choked away a opportunity? My thing is to say that it's almost like insinuating that the window is closing. I'm with you. You always want to take advantage of when you get this far. I'm with you on that. Um, but I don't know. Like to me, I'm going to sleep at tonight. Like my football eye tells me we lost to a better team. I can be frustrated we didn't steal it. I'm frustrated as a Texas fan. My team didn't win. Man, anytime Texas loses, especially to end the season, we're not going to have football for a long time after this. Um, I did not see any pressers because I went right on Bleacher Report after the game. So thank you for the super chat, by the way, Drew. Number one. LFG, good point. Yeah, the Pac 12 QBs. Look, Cam Ward, Shador Sanders, Dante Moore, Aiden Childs, Bo Nix, Cam Rising, Caleb Williams. Now, I know Washington did not play UCLA, so they didn't face Dante Moore, but you can add DJ Uliangale to this. Those are all QBs that Washington played. So, I you know, there was somebody too that said in our post game, in our pregame, that they felt like Washington was more battle tested. I think if they had gone to this point and used that to me, that's a valid point. If they had come in and said, "Hey, we're not super scared of Quinn Ewers because we've seen a lot of really good quarterbacks, and we don't think that Texas has seen any quarterback remotely close to Michael Penix," I think that would have been a legitimate point to make pregame. And I kind of tried to have y'all think about that. If you watch my live yesterday, I did bring some of those things up, but battle tested wise, because it was a Washington fan that asked that. Battle tested wise, I was more so thinking in the totality. We went to Bama. We, you know, played lights out in the trenches for the most part. We've had improvement in our run game. We've seemed to be the more complete team. But that was something that was very valid. Hall of Fame college football with Jason and the coach. Appreciate the super chat. No disrespect to Texas, but this was the team that would beat Texas in the college football playoff. Styles make fights, and this style hurts UT. I don't disagree. Thank you for the super chat, by the way, Coach. I agree. I mean, that's Tran and I said it when the matchups came out that was going to be a tough matchup. Do I think again? We had a chance to win. It's not like it wasn't like we were insurmountable. I just think that if we played Michigan or Alabama tonight, we probably walk away with a dub. And the one team that was going to get us was Washington. If we're going to play at this level, which is in that C plus to B minus range or C plus to B range overall, if we're being honest and grading ourselves, I don't think that any team that played today would give themselves an A, by the way. Alabama for damn sure did not play a football. They looked rusty and they made a shitload of mistakes. Michigan, the way they started the game, there's no way they can get an A. Now they finished. Michigan probably give themselves maybe B plus. Bama's probably gonna give themselves a C. We're probably somewhere around C plus to B minus B. And I think Washington, probably Washington's probably gonna give themselves a B or B plus, probably B plus. But there's a lot that Washington, they muffed a punt. They had unforced. They also had unforced errors. I don't think there's. I don't. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't see nobody come out there looking like 2019 LSU or 2018 Clemson in the first round of the playoffs, where they just came out just firing on all cylinders, offense, defense, special teams, coaching decisions. I don't think anybody brought a game today. I think the games were good. I think the intensity was amazing. I think this is what you want from college football playoffs, but I don't think any of the four teams played could I don't think any of the four teams could say they played their A game today. No. Yeah, Cam Rising was injured. Utah played they played Barnes. I forgot about that. Also D line, Sweat. I don't know what's going on with Sweat. Thanks for the super chat, Drew. I don't know what was up. I mean, I thought when he was in there, he was fine. But when he was in there, I saw him making plays. He had a couple tackles for loss. Obviously, at the goal lines, not the goal line stand, but the short yardage stand. I mean, Washington is. They gave up 11 sacks on the season. They were hard to sack last year, and like we are saying, for a myriad of reasons, they get the ball out, they're efficient, and they have the Joe Moore winning offensive line, and they have a quarterback that moves against if you do get past all that, they have a quarterback that has knows how to move. Penix's footwork was better today than it had been the last few weeks. By the way, I thought that was an area where we would be able to exploit because I thought his footwork was a little shaky. Um, against Washington State and Oregon, but his footwork was better today over that somehow he cleaned that up in the layoff period. While my expectations would go 12-1 this year and have an explosive offense, dominant front seven. I wasn't surprised by the team's success. I always felt QB play would be our drawback. That's all fair. But um, I do think when we look back at this season, it's a dub. We really wanted to prove to ourselves that we could get out of that the Big 12 and leave on the right foot. I think we really wanted to show that from a recruiting standpoint, from a Texas standpoint, from a pride standpoint, that Sark could obviously win 10 games. That Sark is the guy. I think he's going to get an extension, which is well deserved. We'll see. The rumors are out there on who our linebacking coach, our new linebacker coach will be, but how they continue to how they navigate with the staff. I think the future is bright the further we get away from it and look at it. And if we're being honest with ourselves about what if we're being honest with ourselves about what Washington brought to the table today. I think some Texas fans are being honest, and I feel like some of us we're in the denial stage, which is okay, But the question that was asked earlier too about us reaching our potential offensively, because this was a game we can talk about defense all day long. This was a game Marlon's gonna want. Marlon, I know you're gonna agree. Where yeah, we needed to get 47 points. We needed to run the ball more. We needed to be better in situational football, and the quarterback needed to be sharper. And we needed to score. This was a game where you needed to score 45, not 31. And I know it's a tough ask. Washington's defense is not trash, contrary to popular belief. Thought they did a better job tackling. I was wrong about Yak. Those guys were on us today, and they play a lot better than what I saw recently from them on tape. Give them a lot of credit there. Washington is. Yeah, that's what I try, man. I try my best. I know every now and again we have homer takes. All of us do. I'm always going to ride for my team. I love my Longhorns, but I love football, and I'm excited to see the Washington Michigan matchup. Um, and by the way, before you guys, we head out and everything, but I do try to call like I see and be honest. I'm not. I don't want nobody to lie to me because I want people to give me my respect when I know I've earned it and my team has earned it, and we play a certain way. It goes both ways, and I hope a Washington fan can look at this and say, "Wow, we matched up with Texas twice. Tough team. But we beat them." Um, that's part of the game, though. That's part of the game. We can't say, well, if we didn't have 10 penalties, we opened the game on offense with a pre-snap penalty. We opened the game on defense with a penalty. And yes, unforced, but part of what makes one team better than the other, Marlon, is who's more disciplined. So if we're saying, oh well, I mean, we've been saying this about our team, like that's not new. So if you say, oh well, we had these penalties, we had this, or we had that, well, they didn't. they came out and didn't have as many pre-snap penalties. They didn't have a snap infraction to throw themselves off. You know, some of these things we I think we have to look at that. And when it was time to get a third down, who did you feel, when you watched the game, did you feel like, what, Penix was able to get a third down more, cleaner, or was it Quinn? Because this stuff is not new. Jake Majors, Jake Majors got to have this record for most snap infractions of all time. I swear, this stuff not new. I hear you from a talent perspective and personnel. Sure, yeah, there's a lot we could work with and do, and I know that's how you look at the game. You're like you're looking at your pieces. I get that, but uh, no, we lost, got beat, got beat. Anyway, I'm gonna call it a night here, y'all. Couple things. I will, we'll see how things kind of play out tomorrow. Maybe we do another live. I don't know. Try to get other people's reaction because I want to talk to Kieran and Tran and everybody that's in New Orleans right now that was at the game. Um, you know, I want to talk about those things. I also want to rewatch the game, right? Um, and really, assess this. What other things can we learn? Because every time I watch the game, I may change my opinion on something, or I may say, "Hey, you know what? That confirms what I saw, or that confirms how I felt." You never know. You never know. I try to be as open minded as possible, but I know some people are going to be stubborn and say, "Well, we beat ourselves. Washington's not better than us." Even though they've beaten us twice in the last 12 months. Look, I go by what I see on the field and the results. I don't lie to myself. Um, because at the end of the day, everything matters. If you had less composure than the other team, then the other team, that also means they were better than you because they had more composure and they held their shit better than you did. Everything matters in a playoff game. These are the highest of highest stakes. So hopefully these lessons can be learned so that we're not the team getting in our own way. And the next opportunity we have to be at this point. Because everything matters. Sometimes being the best team is just not screwing yourself. And not just hey, let them screw up. We're just going to execute and get out of here. That's all we need to do to win the game. So, anyway, I love you guys. Great season. Like, share, subscribe, the whole bit. Horns always up. Love y'all.